let's give us some prospects to break down.
Coop here, first down.
All right, give us number 1, Caleb Calhoun.
Yes, and just to set this up, these are prospects to watch ahead of the early signing period on Wednesday if you are a Tennessee fan. And I'm going to look at a couple that Tennessee is going to try to flip, that they're targeting, and also a couple that they don't want to flip. So the biggest headliner of the day, first down, is David Sanders Jr. Because last week, all indications were that he was flipping to Ohio State after visiting Ohio State, Indiana. He has not flipped yet. Ohio State lost to Michigan on Saturday. There are now questions about Ryan Day. Dave, gut feeling, do you think he stays with Tennessee?
I felt like that was very similar to the Boo Carter stuff with Colorado. I never really felt like he wanted to leave. And I think it's that Charlotte connection. I think being close to home and your family, being able to see you play. I kind of thought that might be, Ohio State. There are some schools, and I know this because I've covered recruiting, that love to feed information to various recruiting services to get that sort of stuff out there. I think they were feeding that. I really do. Just based off how I read the story as a whole. Just like Boo Carter, I never thought Tennessee was going to lose him. Now, we reported that Boo Carter wasn't going anywhere. We knew that from inside sources. I'm telling you what I think. I'm not telling you what I know, but I don't think this is ever a thing. I could be proven wrong. We'll see.
Okay. And I was a little more nervous for Tennessee's sake. For those who don't know, David Sanders is a 5-star offensive tackle. Tennessee's biggest commitment, by the way, since Eric Berry in terms of height. But so, yes, I think that I thought there was a little more there. Like Boo Carter was so clearly, if you followed him, just trolling everybody by going to Colorado. So I think it was a little bit different, but I didn't see David Sanders as trolling. I thought he was somewhat interested in Ohio State, but as of now,
I mean, if he goes to the game, then you've got to have a little bit of intrepidation.
Right. See, but we knew that Boo Carter went to Colorado just so he could recruit for Tennessee to try to flip some Colorado kids.
All right. What down is next, Coop?
Cooper Mays here. Second down.
All right, Caleb, who's next?
Another player Tennessee needs to make sure they don't flip is Christian Gass out of Georgia. Apparently the Bulldogs, Dave, are making a huge run at him. He's a fringe 4-star, depending on the service you go to, an outside linebacker out of Covington, Georgia. And while he is committed to Tennessee, he has been very much entertaining Georgia in recent weeks. And Tennessee does not want to lose Christian Gass.
So the poll question that is up right now is pretty even. I thought it would be one-sided. Heupel is a great recruiter, good recruiter, still growing. Great recruiter, 24%, 45% to good recruiter, still growing, 31%. I don't think he's still growing. I would argue against that because I think he knows how to use NIL, and we've seen that with various players. Lance Hurd didn't have a great beginning to the season, but we forget he's young and hurt, and now, as long as he doesn't false start, he's been pretty good. Miles Kitzelman was another one. Keenan Peely would have worked out. So I think he knows how to use the transfer portal to supplement it. I think ultimately you would love to be the number one team in recruiting, high school recruiting each and every year. But as long as you can supplement with NIL, then I don't think there's a problem.
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
Who's next, Caleb?
All right, and now this is the main target they want to look at, and we're talking about – actually, we'll save the main target for last. So one more flip that they want to go after this time, Timothy Merritt. He's a 3-star defensive back out of Miami, but there's a lot of hype surrounding him from Tennessee right now. They're much higher on him than just his rating, and again, he's committed to Miami right now. So they want to try to flip him. He's a safety coming out of Birmingham. And actually, he's a 4-star on some services. So we're talking another fringe 3-4-star. I think Tennessee's very high on him. This is a guy that could really get to offset the loss of Lagonza Hayward. And maybe this is why Lagonza Hayward flipped too. We don't know. We'll find out, obviously, on Wednesday.
Yeah, I had someone suggest that maybe they ran off Lagonza because of another potential prospect. And I have trouble believing that. To me, that sounds like the narrative that's being put out by Tennessee. Before we get to fourth down, the final prospect you need to know about with a very untimely National Signing Day coming up, I'll remind you that 4 Downs brought to you by Double D Piping.
Double D Piping provides full-service fire protection on any scale. From residential homes to government facilities, we can assist any customer through design, fabrication, installation, inspection, and demonstration of fire suppression systems. With 30 years of service across 5 states and a full staff with over 40 years experience, our quality can't be beat. Don't get caught watching what you could have prevented. Call Double D Piping, the absolute best in fire prevention.
SEC Center Cooper Mays here. Fourth down.
Fourth down. What's the last prospect we need to keep a close eye on with National Signing Day coming up?
The last one is Isaiah Campbell. Isaiah Campbell is a highly, highly touted defensive lineman. He's a defensive tackle specifically. He had been committed to Clemson, I believe, from January to September of this year. Then he decommitted, and Tennessee has been the favorite to land him ever since. He comes out of Durham, North Carolina. Look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't care about what's happened the last 10 years. It's not about history. It's about the state of the programs in the SEC versus the ACC and where they're going. If Tennessee and Clemson equally want you, you go to Tennessee. And guys, he decommitted. Now.
When they had Butch, you didn't.
No. I'm saying right now because Tennessee's in the SEC and there's such a tier difference in conferences now. And on top of that, and more importantly, and this is the big one, he decommitted just as Tennessee's defensive line became the biggest story in college football. And
Do you
think he wants
think
to be part of that?
Let me ask you this. Do you think there are a significant number of prospects that say the SEC's too tough and I don't want to go there?
I think there were plenty of those back in the day, but Dave, here's the problem. The SEC and the Big Ten are going to eat up all the national coverage in the future. So back in the day, and you know this, Dave, in college football, you could go to a smaller school in another conference and dominate and shine, and then you'll get a lot of coverage on ESPN. That's not going to happen anymore. Because I think the SEC and the Big Ten are going to take up all the national games and all the coverage, and everything surrounds the college football playoff. So with that in mind, unless you're on a team that wins the conference to get an auto bid to the playoff, you're really not going to get any coverage ever again.
I remember Terry Fair saying to me one time when he was being recruited, it was either an Arizona or Arizona State coach. And he goes, why would you want to go to Tennessee? Because you're never going to play there. They have too many good players. And Terry's mom said, let's step over here for a second in another room. Let's talk about it. And she immediately threw that coach out, and Terry no longer considered them because basically the message was being sent, you're not good enough to play at that school, so why go there? So there might be some kids like that, but I think more likely if you go to Clemson over Tennessee, it's either because of facilities, location, whatever that you like about them. I don't think it's because these kids are afraid of competition. And if they are, those aren't the kids you want. You want TristarHatsCo.com.
TriStar Hats Co. product?
TriStar Hats Co. What's that?
You know, those really cool hats, shirts, tumblers, and even license plates with 3 stars like the official Tennessee flag and stripes like the American flag. Pretty patriotic if you ask me.
Ah, gotcha. Seen those. Those are cool. Where can I get them?
Simple. TristarHatsCo.com. And if you order now, there's 10% on any order $50 or more. Plus, use the promo code HOOKED.
With the promo code HOOKED, you get 10% off. That's hooked.
And don't forget free shipping with any order over $50. Stock up at TristarHatsCo.com. That's TristarHatsCo.com. There are plenty of wannabes out there, so make sure you go to TristarHatsCo.com for the best quality and customer service.
Will do, and I'll be sure to use the promo code HOOKED. That's hooked when I do to save an additional 10% off. TristarHatsCo.com.
TriStar Hats Co. is a trademark of TriStar Hats Co. LLC. Any use without express written consent is prohibited.
All right, Caleb, is it time for football IQ? Is that what we're doing?
Let's spend just a little bit more on this real quick with National Signing Day and the early signing period.
Sure.
But predictions of these. Do you think David Sanders, flip or no flip?
No flip.
Christian Gass, flip or no flip to Georgia?
Not as comfortable, but I will say he sticks.
Timothy Merritt, does Tennessee flip him from Miami?
Boy,
With Lagonza Hayward gone.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that yes, they put the full court press on him. And they pay him because it's funny. You can say that about people nowadays. Used to be, you'd be like, "Oh, you're throwing that coach's entire reputation under the bus." Well, not really, because it's not a law and it's not in the Bible. I never believed in that, but Caleb, I would say I would go status quo with that.
Okay. So
Oh, no, I'm
status
sorry.
quo.
They do pull Merritt. Excuse me.
Wow, you think a heck of a day for Tennessee coming. And then lastly, Isaiah Campbell, the defensive lineman whose commitment is open right now.
I don't think he ends up at Tennessee. I hope you don't write these down and grade me on these tomorrow.
Well, see, Dave, funny enough, I'm higher on everything than you are. I think everything happens for Tennessee and they get Isaiah Campbell. I think Isaiah Campbell's been looking at Tennessee for a long time. And look, just watch out on that. I think with Timothy Merritt, what I think more likely happens is he doesn't sign with Miami. So then he waits till National Signing Day and, things are kind of open and then he can flip in December. But yeah, I think more importantly is what happens with, I think Isaiah Campbell's going to commit. And yeah, neither one of their flip prospects are going to flip. We're going to talk a little bit more. Everybody's talking about this. It's just, and we're going to talk about the calendar tomorrow. There's just so many things going on. The transfer portal is about to open or has opened, excuse me. There's about to be a lot of that because I'm sure Tennessee is going to be very active in the portal.
Did you see where this kid, I think he was like at New Mexico State or something, Rocky Beers? That's his name, Rocky Beers. As in like Rocky, the Adrian. And beers, I love drinking beers. And it just seems like a foregone conclusion that he's going to Ole Miss. So it is interesting how guys can jump and then it seems like it's a money grab situation, but I can't blame them. If you have the opportunity to go play immediately with the transfer portal, why would you stay at a smaller school if you could go make more money and have better facilities?
I agree, but is Ole Miss going to Ole Miss boosters ain't loaded with cash, and they just opened up a checkbook planning to go all in on this year for the college football playoff, and it doesn't look like they're going to make it. So, do you think they're going to agree with this philosophy again?
Yeah, I think you got to give it a couple of years, don't you? I don't.
I thought Ole Miss was more like the Marlins. They got to spend it all on 1 year. That's one of the greatest buys of all time. They bought a World Series for a year.
Yeah, didn't they buy two?
No, the second one, actually, a lot of players came from the farm system. Remember Dontrell Willis, AJ Burnett, those guys? Josh Beckett, they actually came through the farm system, believe it or not.
Okay. No, I didn't know that. I remember going to watch Dontrell Willis play and throw, and he had like a complete game, 2-hit shutout. And I remember somebody in my family saying, it just looked like they weren't trying hard. I think Dontrell Willis was trying pretty hard.